Significant drop in new COVID-related deaths and cases yesterday. There was also a huge drop in testing to the lowest amount in 2 weeks. This comes less than a week into the stay-at-home order as COVID continues to impact some of the provinces most vulnerable, just as vaccinations start to ramp up. So, when can we finally get COVID under control? A question we've been asking for a long time now. Here with this take, epidemiologist at the University of Ottawa, Dr. Raywat Deonandan. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Less than a week into these lockdown orders, the stay-at-home orders, any indication now in Ottawa specifically, do you think that they are bringing the numbers down and working?
Oh, it's definitely working. The wastewater analysis shows a downward trend the last couple of days. The reproduction number is below 1. The average number of contacts of cases detected is quite small now, but our test positivity rate is still kind of high at 4%. So we're on the right trend, but it's going to take a little longer, a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to drive this into a realm that is comfortable.
So let me ask you this then. Dr. David Williams said that in the province, he'd like to see us get down to under 1,000 cases reported a day, new cases reported a day, in order to lift these stay-at-home orders. Do you think Ottawa could be exempt from that and we could have our own benchmark here for when we could see the stay-at-home orders lifted here, considering the numbers seem to be primarily driven in the GTA?
Well, that's a political decision. I have no insight into how these decisions are made. However, there is something to be said for a regional assessment approach of the indicators because every community is different. The demographics are different. The distribution of the population is different. The levels of compliance are different. So it makes sense to assess each region on its own merits, but there has to be some contiguousness of the principles of containment applied across the entire province. So it's a balancing act. However, the answer is, yeah, we are kind of special in that we seem to be able to manage this slightly better than other parts of the province.
You say about 2 to 4 weeks that we would need to continue to see here in Ottawa our numbers continue to go in that direction they were going. How low could we get them if we continue doing what we're doing and staying at home?
How low could we get them? We could get down to 0 if we do this long enough. The question is, how long do you want to do it for? And how long do we have compliance? That's been a goal for several scientists for a while, COVID-0, get it down to 0 by maintaining distance for that long. I don't think we're going to have that tolerance in this province or in this city. But what we want to get down to is a test positivity rate of less than 2%, number of new cases that are in the single digits, and definitely a comfortable and not overwhelmed hospital system. That'll take a while. In the meantime, we have the race to vaccinate everybody, and that's going to be the focus, I think, for most people.
Concern that we're not going to see quite as many of the vaccines coming in because of the holdback, if you will, from Pfizer?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's very disappointing. It's hard to fight a war when you don't have enough ordnance. What it tells me is you got to settle in, buckle down, and make sure we do not allow transmission in the meantime while we wait for new doses to arrive. But I hope that our decision makers, our negotiators, are trying to get more doses as quickly as we can.
What about the delay in administering that second dose? We're here in Ontario, it could be up to 40 days. In Quebec, they're saying much more than that, perhaps 90 days when the testing was done with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines to be 21, 27 days or 28 days apart. I mean, are we playing with fire here if we're not following the rules of what the drug makers are telling us to do when it comes to administering the doses?
If we'd had this conversation a month ago, I would have said, don't do that. The clinical trials have clearly told us that this is what we know. We know that if the second dose comes 21, 28 days later, then it works. Anything beyond that, we simply don't know. However, we're in a new reality right now. That new reality is the threat of this new UK variant, which is quickly becoming dominant. If it becomes dominant, then we are in a new level of hellaciousness in the hospitals because we'll be overwhelmed again, even faster. So it seems to make sense to get as many doses out as quickly as we can. If that means fudging on the fringes of when we get the second dose, then so be it. I just hope it's not more than a reasonable number of days. But to answer your question, I am concerned, but we're in a crisis time. We have to make crisis decisions.
Let me ask you this. There's been some talk about whether or not the virus stays in the air longer out in the cold weather. We're minus 16 degrees out there right now, and some people are questioning, should we be wearing a mask now outside, even if we're distanced from others, just for that extra layer of safety, by comparison to what happens with our breath and the droplets in the summer. Can you explain that for us, Dr. Deonandan?
Right. So humidity has a role to play in the distance that droplets travel. The more humid the air, the weightier the droplets become, and they fall to the ground faster. So in a really humid environment, they may fall in less than a meter. In a dry environment, like we get in wintertime, they may go further, maybe 2 meters, maybe a bit longer. On the other hand, in winter, there's a lot more wind, a lot more ventilation. So the droplets will be blown away before they get to your face. So there's a trade-off of different environmental factors affecting how the droplets travel from one person to another. Wear a mask? Absolutely wear a mask. Why not? It doesn't cost you anything and it's free and it works. But if you don't want to wear a mask, the 2 meter distance probably still works outside, especially if there's a good crosswind. But for maximum protection, keep your distance, be outside, and wear a mask if you want to.
Okay. One last question before I let you go. We're supposed to find out in the next day or two about schools in Ontario. As an epidemiologist in the know, would you recommend kids be going back to school at this point when we're under stay-at-home orders? Do you think it's safe for them given the numbers?
This is a controversial topic. I err on the side of no, it's not safe yet, because we simply don't know the nature of child transmission, especially in the dynamic of this new variant, and the test positivity rate is still too high, in my opinion. I'd like to wait a little longer.
All right, Dr. Raywat Deonandan, epidemiologist, University of Ottawa. Always appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.